My boyfriend was the picture of innocence, like a bashful little bunny. Just one kiss on the cheek would turn him bright red. But one day, I uncovered the truth. He was actually the most wild, ruthless, and dangerous heir in all of South City. So yeah, it might be time to run for my life. I always thought I was dating the sweetest, most innocent guy alive. He had that wholesome, boy-next-door vibe, deep, soulful eyes, thick lashes, and lips as soft and pink as rose petals. When he looked at me with those wounded eyes, they sparkled like fallen stars, shimmering with unspoken tears. His skin was smooth and pale, like cream cheese. Whenever I kissed his cheek, he'd blush furiously and hide his face in embarrassment, like a timid, skittish little bunny. Even holding hands made his fingers tremble ever so slightly. We had been together for 6 months. He doted on me, listened to my every whim, and treated me like I was the center of his world. That night, after we wrapped filming, I pouted and said I was craving tofu pudding from a 100-year-old shop across town. The round trip would take 3 hours. But Jackson just smiled indulgently and said, "Be good and wait for me." I nodded. "Okay, I'll wait." As soon as Jackson stepped out of the hotel room, my best friend Hannah called. Her voice was slurred with tears. She wanted to see me and celebrate my birthday. I instantly realized she was drunk. She was at a bar, alone. Worried, I rushed over. When I arrived, she was completely wasted, surrounded by a few strangers clearly just there for the fun. I helped her up, telling her I'd take her home. As we passed a private booth, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. I hadn't planned to look, but then I heard a voice from inside. Deep, rich, magnetic. A voice that jolted me like an electric shock. "Jackson?" What he said next chilled me to the bone. "You've got a lot of nerve. Tired of living?" I couldn't stop myself. I peeked inside. There he was, sitting lazily on the sofa in a white t-shirt and jeans. Same familiar face, but the atmosphere around him was completely different. He radiated cold authority. His gaze was sharp and unyielding, his lips pressed in a faint line. The whole room seemed to freeze around him. Only one thing stood out, the lollipop between his lips. Was this really Jackson? And yet, his slender fingers still wore the couple's ring I'd given him just days earlier. It was him. In front of him, a middle-aged man was kneeling on the floor, shaking uncontrollably, his face twisted in fear. "Prince Rice, please. Spare me. I'll never do it again." Prince Rice? The moment I heard that name, my whole body froze. It hit me like lightning. Prince Rice. Jackson Rice. When I first hired him as my assistant, I saw the name on his resume. I even chuckled to myself, what a coincidence. Same name as the infamous Prince Rice. Heir to the Rice family. Known for his cruelty and ruthlessness. They said anyone who crossed him ended up miserable. That man, cold-blooded, terrifying Prince Rice, was my sweet, shy, blushing boyfriend? God help me. I was paralyzed. As if sensing something, Jackson's sharp gaze swept toward me. Thank goodness Hannah's body was blocking his line of sight. Even more thankfully, I was wearing a hat and a mask that day, my face fully covered. I quickly dragged Hannah away, running on autopilot. After dropping her off at home, I returned to the hotel in a daze. I showered, changed into fresh clothes, but everything still felt unreal. When he first came to interview as my assistant, I picked him at a glance. So pure. Everyone around me knew my type. I was into clean, innocent boys. Greasy or flamboyant guys? Total deal breakers. His file said his family owned a small restaurant in the mountains. I figured he came from a modest background. For 2 months, he worked as my assistant, hand-washing my clothes, cooking me soup, holding an umbrella for me, buying my bubble tea, even driving me to midnight movie showings. He was meticulous and sweet. Even my manager praised him for being thoughtful and considerate. And me? I couldn't help myself. I flirted with him constantly. Every time I saw his cheeks flush and his gaze dodge mine in embarrassment, my heart screamed from the cuteness. He was too innocent, it made me want to tease him even more. 2 months in, I finally won him over. He became my boyfriend. But I had no idea he was the Prince of South City. Right then, the sound of a keycard beeped at the hotel door. I jumped, telling myself to stay calm. The man walked in. If this had been any other night, I would have pounced on him like a koala, wrapped my arms around his neck, and begged for cuddles. And Jackson would have blushed and held me gently, helplessly indulging me. But now? Now I wanted to punch my past self in the face. Jackson set the bag of tofu pudding on the table, his long, pale fingers inserting a straw with practiced care. He handed it to me sweetly. "I got it for you. If this got out, no one would believe it." The untouchable, godlike Prince of South City drove 3 hours late at night to buy tofu pudding for me? I was practically digging my own grave. I nodded awkwardly, trying to keep my voice steady. "Thanks." Jackson looked at me with those pure, gentle eyes, tilting his head slightly, concern flickering across his face. Colleen, what's wrong? Are you upset? Did I take too long? His voice was low and soothing, once my favorite sound in the world. That gentle timbre always wrapped itself around my heart, soft and addictive. But now? Now all I could hear was that cold, commanding voice echoing from the bar's private room. Two voices. One man. Two completely different people. I forced a smile. No, I'm just a bit tired. Okay. Be good. He ruffled my hair gently. I'll take a shower first. The moment he shut the bathroom door, I clutched my chest. Oh my God. I was terrified. What do I do now? Ugh. I totally jinxed myself last week. Just because I copied some drama scene, pretended to be scared of thunder, and threw myself into his arms begging for cuddles. Since then, we've been sleeping in the same room every night. Ugh, what was I thinking these past few months? I really needed to find a way to get Jackson to sleep in a different room. But before I could come up with an excuse, the bathroom door opened, and my heart skipped a beat. Crap. The prince is coming out. My heart pounded wildly with nerves. Stay back. Please stay back. But he came closer and closer, until I could smell the sweet, milky scent of his body wash. That was the one I picked out for him. I liked the brand, so I made him use it. And he had obediently gone along with it, like always. Normally, that sweet scent made me feel calm and safe. But now it felt like something else entirely. The air around us seemed to spark with danger. And then, he climbed directly into bed. What do I do now? The words I'd prepared to ask him to sleep in another room evaporated. I just couldn't say them. I didn't dare turn around to look at him. But he moved like it was the most natural thing in the world, slipping an arm around my waist, pulling me gently into his embrace, as if to mark his territory. His voice was soft, full of affection. Colleen, go to sleep. His warm breath tickled my ear. Be good. I'll hold you till you fall asleep. My heart thumped even harder. Help. There's no way I can fall asleep like this. But then, his hand gently stroked my hair. And maybe my body had gotten used to this. Maybe it had become habit. Because like always, just like that, I drifted off. The next few days, I was a mess. Dazed. On edge. One question circled endlessly in my mind. Why would the mighty prince of South City lower himself to be my assistant? After I discovered his true identity, I started paying closer attention. And that's when I realized, God, I had been so dumb. I had missed so many clues. For example, his clothes always looked clean and simple, good fabric, no visible logos. I'd assumed he bought them off the street. But thinking about it now, those were probably custom-made. He'd said his hometown was in the mountains. I had pictured a remote mountain village. But when I looked it up online, I found out his family did own a place in the mountains, an actual luxury resort worth tens of millions. That used to be his childhood home. And then there was the watch I saw him wearing once, sleek, minimalist, clearly high-end. I thought it was a knockoff. Now I realized, if it was real, it was worth at least several million. The man had a house on his wrist. He was never some poor assistant. He was a living Buddha hiding in plain sight. So why did he come into my life under a fake identity? Could it be that he did it because of me? Earlier this year, I filmed a variety show. During the recording, the host asked about my ideal type. Without thinking, I blurted out, I want a man who's ridiculously pure. If he's not pure, I don't want him. That one sentence went viral. It became a running joke across the internet. And I became public enemy number one for every troll and prankster out there. People started chasing me just to prove me wrong. Some even streamed their attempts at courting me, betting I'd regret it. Others took polls, how long will she last? A few spoiled rich heirs even boasted online, saying they'd definitely win me over. It happened again and again. I was so sick of it, I could barely feel my own face. But still, what about Jackson? He's the real prince of South City. Did he also think it'd be fun? Did he want to join in on the joke? Had I been played, again? I wasn't just some clueless rookie either. I'd been in the entertainment industry for 2 years. I had contacts. So, I quietly asked someone I trusted to dig into Jackson's background. And then the reply came back. Rumor had it, the Prince of South City was currently single, because of unrequited love. He had been in love with someone for a long time. But she was married. So he waited. Patiently. Hoping one day she'd come back to him. And that someone was Ella Wilson. The name hit me like a thunderclap. Ella Rice? You've got to be kidding me. I had just taken on a drama about playing a stand-in for someone's first love, and now I find out, in real life, I am the stand-in? Ella entered the industry a few months after me. People often compared the two of us because we looked somewhat alike. Similar features. Similar vibe. Ella got married last year to a well-connected businessman. Since then, her resources had skyrocketed. But recently, I heard gossip that someone powerful had been pursuing her, and that Ella might be getting divorced. So that's it. The Crown Prince really did treat me like a stand-in. That's why he came to me, disguised as an assistant. And once he got Ella, I'd be tossed aside. Just like that. Worse, he was probably amused the whole time. These rich types always like playing games. He probably got a kick out of seeing me fall for his pure and gentle act. Probably wanted to watch me humiliate myself when the truth came out. I wanted to bash his head in. But that was just a fantasy. In reality, I needed to break up with him. Fast. I refused to get dragged into his messy drama with Ella. So, I quietly texted my manager Lisa. I told her I wanted to replace my assistant. Asked if she could start looking for someone new. Lisa replied almost instantly, "Why are you suddenly replacing Jackson? Did you two have a fight?" I grumbled to myself, "You're still calling him Jackson? Wait till you find out who he really is. You'll drop your phone in fright." I sent her a half-truth, "We're about to break up. It's not appropriate for him to keep working for me. Better to plan ahead." Lisa responded again, "So you're just done with him? Got bored and ready to throw him away? Ugh, poor guy. I actually feel bad for him." I rolled my eyes. "Please. I'm the one who deserves sympathy here." Just then, Jackson walked in with a food container. Instantly guilty, I exited the chat like a thief caught red-handed. He sat beside me, gently opening the box. "You haven't been eating lately. I heard you were craving crayfish the other day. I got some for you. Try a little." His voice was soft, soothing. Hearing it made something in my chest ache. Guilt, maybe. Or something else. Okay. Back then, I would have been overjoyed. I'd have wrapped my arms around his neck and squealed, "You're the best, baby." Now, I just wanted to keep a safe distance. I opened my mouth to say I wasn't hungry. But then, I saw his fair hand slip into a pair of disposable gloves. Carefully, patiently, he began peeling the crayfish. My little devil horns popped right back up. So what if he used me? I'd make sure to milk this for all it's worth before dumping him. One by one, the bright red shells fell away, revealing the tender pink flesh underneath. He lined up the peeled meat on a plate, building a little mountain just for me. "Eat up," Jackson said warmly. He peeled. I ate. Fair trade. During filming breaks, the moment I sat down to rest, Jackson would always know exactly what I wanted, before I even opened my mouth. He handed me a grape-flavored yogurt milk tea. I took a few sips, delicious. While I acted on set, Jackson would quietly stand nearby, watching me work. Whenever he saw a free moment, he'd help fan me, adjust my outfit, or offer me snacks like I was royalty. Once, my shoelace came undone. I was just about to squat down and tie it, milk tea still in hand. But before I could move, Jackson had already knelt down on one knee. His pale fingers worked with quiet precision, tying the laces like he was handling fine silk. Then he noticed my shoes were a little dirty. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and carefully wiped them clean. If I wasn't mistaken, that handkerchief was designer, easily worth tens of thousands. At that moment, my chest felt strangely tight and sour. If I didn't already know who he really was, and what his intentions might be, I would have believed, truly believed, that I was his entire world. That he was gently, lovingly protecting me like something fragile and precious. But now, I had already made up my mind to break up with him. The only problem was finding the right moment. I needed a solid reason, something logical and drama-free. After all, I couldn't afford to offend the Crown Prince of South City. I still had to survive in this industry. That evening, Jackson received a phone call. His expression shifted slightly. He said something had come up at home and he'd need to take a few days off. But he promised to return as soon as things were settled. I couldn't hide my relief. "Sure," I said quickly. "Go ahead and take care of your business." But Jackson narrowed his eyes, brow slightly furrowed. His black irises stared at me, tinged with sorrow and disappointment. "Colleen, you don't seem sad at all that I'm leaving. Are you actually hoping I'd go away?" He'd hit a nerve. I panicked a little, and instantly flipped into acting mode, smiling sweetly. "What? Of course not. I'll miss you so much. I'm just holding it in, you know? Go take care of things, I'll be fine." His lashes fluttered like raven wings. He looked at me with a softened gaze, the corners of his lips lifting gently. I'll be back soon." And then he started fussing, again. Like a worried housewife. "Don't drink anything cold. You know your period's coming, you'll get cramps. Don't eat too much spicy food. I know you love it, but your stomach's weak. I already arranged all your meals at the hotel, someone will deliver them daily. And don't get too close to any other guys. If anything happens, call me. Immediately." I nodded like a bobblehead, desperate to just get this clingy tyrant out the door. The next day, I had a variety show recording. As I walked into the makeup room backstage, guess who I saw? Ella. I didn't plan to acknowledge her, but the moment I sat down, she and her assistant started their little performance. You know, Ella said loudly, some people may look similar at first glance, but stare long enough and you'll see, there's a big difference between a pearl and a dead fish eye. Ella, her assistant chimed in, I heard you've been nominated for Best Actress at the Golden Magnolia Awards next month. It's totally yours. Yeah, another added, Director West even reached out himself, right? Wants you for his new film. Ella turned toward me, smiling with that smug, red-lipped expression. Colleen, didn't you audition for West's film recently? Seems like all that effort was for nothing. I smiled calmly. Your mouth stinks. Can you shut it? As expected, Ella exploded. She slapped the table and snapped, you dare talk to me like that? Do you want to be blacklisted? I replied coolly, oh? So you own the entertainment industry now? If you're that powerful, why stop at one Best Actress? Why not win 3? Ella's assistant leapt forward, fuming. Apologize. Or you'll regret it. I calmly applied my lipstick in the mirror, not sparing them a glance. Whoever picks the fight first is trash. If you apologize, I will too. If not, well, come on then. Bite me. I turned and walked out. Behind me, I heard something heavy slam to the ground. Honestly, I had planned to just swallow it and keep the peace. After all, with Prince Rice backing Ella, she wasn't someone I could afford to offend. But let's be real, if those two were really together, knowing Ella's petty personality, even if I backed down today, she'd never let me go. So I figured, why not just rip the mask off now? Let it all out. During filming, Ella put on her usual sweet, innocent act. Her eyes sparkled like a deer's, her voice soft and sugary. Pure and harmless. Then came the Truth or Dare segment. To everyone's shock, Ella declared she was single. She even subtly hinted that she was getting divorced. I sat there in silence, thinking, well, looks like Prince Rice got his way. They'd probably make their relationship public soon. After the show aired, Ella shot to the top of trending searches. The internet buzzed with theories about her divorce. My staff were gossiping nonstop backstage. I caught a few lines. Apparently, Ella was romantically linked to the heir of an extremely powerful family. Word was, she'd be remarrying soon, into a real-life dynasty. A dull ache flickered in my chest. But it passed quickly. The next day, my manager told me 3 ad deals and 2 script offers had suddenly been pulled. Ella had spread the word that I wasn't good enough. Those companies, weighing the risks, naturally chose her. Lisa was furious. I, on the other hand, was calm. I already knew exactly who was backing her. This was just further proof I needed to exit the drama early and cut my losses. That evening, I had just washed my hair. My friends invited me to play games, so I jumped online without drying it. Halfway through a match, I suddenly felt my damp hair being lifted. The hum of a blow dryer buzzed softly in my ear. My entire body tensed. Even without turning around, I knew who it was. Jackson was back. I used to be lazy about drying my hair. Later, I pretended I hated doing it just to get him to help. I'd pout and act helpless, and he'd give in every time. Eventually, he didn't even need prompting. He just started doing everything, dressing me, bringing me shoes, running errands, completely on his own. Back then, I used to feel smug. Damn, I'm good. I actually trained this shy little guy into the perfect boyfriend. Go me. But now? Now I just wanted to cry. I'll do it myself later, I said weakly. No need to dry it now. Jackson replied gently, let me. You keep playing. His fingers combed through my hair with practiced care. And just like that, I felt a jolt, like electricity crawling from my scalp down through every nerve. I'd always been the type to miss the details. Plus, I judged him too quickly. I assumed he was just a sweet, obedient boy. But now I realized. Even the way he held that blow dryer, carried a quiet dominance. There was strength hidden beneath his softness, like silk wrapped around steel. After Jackson came back, I couldn't focus on my game anymore. I quickly told my friends I had to go and logged off. Jackson had finished blow-drying my hair. Now he was quietly combing it with a brush, careful and gentle. A tight pressure gathered in my chest, like a storm cloud pressing down on me. I couldn't take it anymore. Can you sit down for a second? I said. I have something serious to talk to you about. Jackson didn't stop combing. Go ahead. I'll be done soon. I looked up at him. The light from the ceiling poured down, outlining the sharp lines of his features and making his pale skin glow. His eyes sparkled with light, like stars had settled in them, but right now, all that light was focused solely on me. I felt suffocated. And I knew, some things had to end sooner rather than later. This show was wrapping up in a few days. I'd already talked to my manager, we agreed I'd go abroad for a while to lay low, and maybe take some acting classes. Jackson, I'd rehearsed this speech in my head 100 times. But now that the moment had arrived, I chickened out. I hesitated and blurted, "I want Odin. Can you go buy some for me?" This was it. I'd made up my mind. I'd break up with him today. While he was out buying food, I rushed to order a mountain of ice cream online. It arrived quickly. By the time he came back, I had already eaten 2 and was halfway through my third. As expected, Jackson's brow furrowed deeply, and his normally gentle expression darkened. "Sweetheart, you can't eat any more ice cream." He reached out to take it from my hand. I slapped his hand away, just as I'd planned. "I want to eat it. Why are you always trying to control me, Jackson? I don't like it." Surprise flickered in his eyes. I thought he'd snap. But instead of getting angry, he looked even gentler than before, coaxing softly, "Just not today, okay? I'm not saying you can't eat ice cream. Just hold off for a few days. If you're craving sweets, I'll get you cake instead." His voice was warm, melting, like a bubble wrapping around my entire heart. But reality came crashing back quickly. I had to burst that bubble. I flared up. "Jackson, you're too controlling. I don't like it. You tell me what to eat, how to wear my hair, how to shower, who to talk to, you control every little thing. I just think, we're not right for each other. We should break." Before I could finish the sentence, I saw it. His eyes were burning, like wildfire spreading through a dry forest. Then, without a word, his fingers gently pressed against my lips. "Sweetheart, don't say that," he whispered. "That's my only bottom line. Anything else, we can talk through it." His voice was soft, almost childlike, but beneath it, I could feel something much darker. A possessiveness, an edge that trembled with control. My whole body went numb. I didn't dare finish that sentence. He was, after all, the crown prince of South City. I nodded quickly, pretending to be obedient. Jackson left shortly after to buy me some hot milk buns, saying they'd be a better substitute. I sat there, pretending to enjoy them like a good girl, but inside, I was planning my final move. Time to run. Once he got together with Ella, he wouldn't need me anymore. He'd let me go. And that would be my chance to disappear. A few days passed. Jackson seemed busier than usual. He was around during the day, but at night, he always vanished. I finalized my plans with my manager. She thought I was just going abroad to relax, but I handled all the details myself. My private travel agent had already secured the flight and itinerary. The day before my departure, the final scenes of the show wrapped. The director invited me to the wrap party, and I agreed. When I arrived at the private room, I saw the director seated with 3 middle-aged men at the dinner table. He introduced them as friends, and representatives of the show's investors. I immediately felt on edge. I had thought the wrap party would include the rest of the cast. But apparently, I was the only guest. Still smiling, I took my seat and discreetly texted my manager, asking her to come pick me up. My assistant for the day was just a temp, and he'd been stopped outside the room. After toasting the men with a glass of wine each and exchanging a few polite words, I excused myself and headed to the bathroom. That's when I realized one of the men, chubby Mr. Peterson, was following me. He walked right up behind me, grinning with sleazy confidence. "Colleen, why don't we have a private chat?" he said. "I'm about to invest in a new drama. I'd love for you to play the female lead." His eyes were filled with greed, scanning my body from top to bottom. I gave a cold laugh. "No thanks. I have something else going on. I'll be leaving now." I didn't mind burning the bridge. But I had underestimated just how shameless this man could be. He suddenly reached out and tried to grab me. Did I look like the type to tolerate that? I swung my purse as hard as I could, smacking him over and over. And screamed, "Help! Molester!" Mr. Peterson was hit several times before he snapped. His eyes burned with rage as he yanked my hair and slapped me hard across the face. "Bitch! You're just another actress whoring around. Why are you pretending to be classy?" My vision blurred. Then, like a cannonball, Mr. Peterson was kicked straight across the hallway. He slammed against the floor, moaning. I looked up, and there he was. Jackson. Wearing a crisp white shirt, face like a storm, his eyes burning with fury. The kind of fury that could tear someone apart. He attacked without hesitation. Mr. Peterson couldn't even defend himself. Jackson's punches landed one after another, fast and brutal. At one point, Peterson landed a hit on Jackson's face. But Jackson didn't retaliate. He simply sneered and said coldly, "Now it's mutual assault." And then, he kept going. Harder. Mr. Peterson was reduced to a heap on the floor, wailing for help. I started to panic. At this rate, someone could actually die. Not that I cared about Peterson, but this situation could spiral out of control fast. "Jackson!" I shouted. And just like that, he froze. His chest still heaved violently. Bloodshot eyes stared blankly ahead. He looked like a lion pushed past its limit, completely unhinged, yet barely holding on to reason. Slowly, he turned toward me. The rage melted from his expression. What replaced it was a look of fear. Of pain. Of guilt. Then, the door to the private room opened. The director and the other guests rushed out. One of them, Lucas, stared at Jackson and gasped. "Prince Rice? What are you doing here?" "Well now. Jackson, don't look at me like that. I didn't out you." "They did. Your mask came off, on its own." Jackson seemed completely deaf to the voices around him, his eyes were locked on me and me alone. Step by step, he walked toward me. I stood frozen in place, unmoving, until he finally stopped right in front of me. He was nearly 1.9 meters tall, but he lowered his head and leaned down, his nose nearly brushing mine. I could smell the faint milky scent on him, tinged with something metallic, blood. Just moments ago, those eyes were filled with fury, but now they brimmed with fear and panic. "Baby, I'm sorry, did I scare you?" he whispered. Though I kept a blank expression on my face, inside I was screaming. "No. Oh my God. You look way too hot. You're devastatingly cool. I used to like innocent, soft-hearted guys, the purer, the better. But looking at the fierce and powerful Jackson just now, strangely I wasn't afraid at all. It's just that. Sure, he saved me, and I was grateful, but I knew clearly, I would never settle for being anyone's stand-in. I couldn't accept a boyfriend who still held someone else in his heart. I'm not the kind of person who tolerates grains of sand in my eyes, or my love." I blinked and decided to play along. Time to put my crying skills to good use. Tears slipped from the corners of my eyes, like pearls rolling off a broken necklace, natural, effortless. Jackson panicked even more. He reached out as if to brush my tears away, but then pulled back abruptly and instead fumbled for a handkerchief, his fingers trembling as he carefully wiped them for me. Through it all, he just kept coaxing me gently. And I, for fear of breaking the scene, stayed silent the entire time. Eventually, Mr. Peterson was taken to the police station. I went too. When Mr. Peterson found out who Jackson really was, he immediately dropped all charges, and was so terrified he knelt before Jackson on the spot. Jackson didn't even look at him, he stayed by my side, gently pressing an ice pack to my face, his gaze full of remorse and tenderness. The director and the others were terrified and apologized over and over. Jackson just said one word, "Leave." And no one dared disturb us again. Mr. Peterson confessed to sexually harassing me and was officially detained. When Jackson and I left the station together, I still said nothing. He drove me home. At my door, with my back to him, I said slowly and clearly, "I want to be alone tonight." His voice was low. "Okay. When you're ready, I'll explain everything, about who I am." I closed the door. But I couldn't calm down. My heart was racing wildly. I pounded my chest a few times and muttered, "Stay calm. Don't panic. Stick to the plan." At 3 a.m. I slipped out the back gate. I headed straight to the airport and boarded a flight to Country H. On the plane, I told myself this trip was both an escape and a chance to clear my head. When I returned, everything would be settled. 3 months later, I heard from my best friend that Prince Rice was still single. Could it be he and Ella hadn't gone public yet? Were they secretly seeing each other? But come on, it's been 3 months. With Jackson's charm and skills, he had to have won Ella over by now. Reassured, I flew home. Besides, my agent Lisa had been begging me non-stop, sending teary texts every day, pleading with me to come back. I delayed long enough. 3 months was pushing it. I didn't return to my old apartment. I stayed in a hotel instead. Lisa had lined up a drama audition for me. It was scheduled for tomorrow. She also told me all the lost gigs had come back and that something like this would never happen again. Her words were vague, but I figured, well, at least Jackson still had a conscience. After all, he'd been my assistant and boyfriend. He hadn't let Ella keep sabotaging me. Life returned to its usual rhythm, the way it had been before Jackson came into the picture. But oddly, something felt hollow. As if a part of my heart had gone missing. The next day, I stepped out of the hotel. A black Rolls-Royce was parked on the street. A man in a suit leaned against the car, a lollipop in his mouth. The breeze played with his hair. He was just standing there, yet it was impossible not to look at him, not just because of his striking looks, but because of the elegance, maturity, and quiet power he radiated. But compared to before, there was a shadow of sorrow and fatigue on his face. He looked up, and our eyes met. In that moment, those deep, still eyes lit up with emotion, grievance, longing, possessiveness. And suddenly, I felt a little guilty. He really looked like a man abandoned by the one he loved, and I, apparently, was that heartless woman. He walked toward me, holding an umbrella. When he reached me, he opened it and held it above my head. I thought he was going to question me, confront me. But instead, the first thing he said was, "Don't be scared. I'm just here to take you to work. Don't be scared." My brain instantly overheated. I wanted to say something, but in the end, I said nothing. I nailed the audition and joined the crew a week later. Jackson never brought up the past, never asked for explanations. He didn't say much at all. Like a silent shadow, he would drive me back and leave. A week later, he came again, still acting as my assistant, just like before. I was stunned. I mean, his identity had already been exposed. Ella had already gotten divorced. Before I boarded that plane, I had sent him a final message: "We're not right for each other. Let's break up." And then I blocked every single way he could contact me. Why on earth was he still playing assistant? Was he too timing? Or did something go wrong in the timeline? Then filming began. And when I arrived on set and saw Ella, I nearly laughed out loud. So she was that mystery guest actor the director had vaguely mentioned earlier? What a small world. I had to admit, I was a little surprised. Ella taking a guest role? Her resources must have really taken a hit. Back in the day, she would never stoop to something like this unless she had no other offers. But then I glanced at Jackson. Could it be he and his white moonlight had fallen out? Jackson handed me a cup of milk tea, stuck a straw in it, and gently brought it to my lips, without sparing Ella a single glance. Something was definitely off. The guest scene involved Ella playing my sister. In our scene, the sister was supposed to run away from home, and I tried to stop her. But then, I caught a glimpse, Ella, riding a motorcycle, heading straight for me. In the blink of an eye, someone wrapped their arm around my waist and pulled me aside. My heart pounded. Warm breath brushed against my ear. "Don't be afraid. It's okay now." Ella jumped off the bike, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, it just went out of control." But I clearly saw the flicker of resentment and regret in her eyes. She did it on purpose. I could even guess what she was thinking. If I got injured, and since she bore some resemblance to me, maybe she could use it as an excuse to replace me and become the new lead actress. I caught the icy glint in Jackson's eyes. It was sharp enough to pierce through Ella like a blade. I took a deep breath and ignored Ella. Instead, I softly said, "Thank you, Jackson." "It's nothing. I'm your assistant," he replied gently, yet his voice carried a calming reassurance. From observing them, I was almost certain Jackson and Ella were done. The director gave us a short break before we resumed filming. The next scene, according to the script, involved me failing to persuade my sister and, in desperation, handing over all my valuables to her. But once filming resumed, after a few lines with Ella, she suddenly became agitated and slapped me hard across the face. That slap was nowhere in the script. I saw tears welling up in her eyes, a look of wronged innocence, but the smug curve tugging at the corner of her lips gave her away. She was using the scene to settle personal scores. Without hesitation, I raised my hand and gave her 2 resounding slaps in return. Then I burst into tears and shouted, "Sister, you're out of your mind. I'm not the type to wait to get revenge, I deliver it on the spot." What, she thought I'd just take it? She clearly didn't know, I used to box. Everyone on set was stunned. Ella's face swelled like a pig's in no time, her eyes full of fury and venom, as if she wanted to tear me apart. The director quickly shouted, "Cut." Jackson rushed over and gently cupped my face with his hands, his gaze filled with restrained anger. "Does it hurt? Let me get you some ice." "No need. I'll do it myself." What surprised me even more was that even after I slapped Ella twice, Jackson didn't spare her a single glance. He took me to the trailer and helped me apply the ice. But soon after, Ella stormed in, face twisted with rage. She pointed at my nose and yelled, "How dare you hit me? You better kneel and apologize. Or I'll have Prince Rice blacklist you from the industry." I couldn't help but glance at Jackson. His expression turned frigid as he looked at her and uttered, word by word, "You must have a death wish." Ella sneered and scoffed at him. "And who do you think you are?" "Oh right, I heard about you. You're her little assistant boyfriend, aren't you?" Then she turned her scorn on me. "Colleen, seriously? You have such terrible taste. Dating your assistant? Haha, you two are perfect for each other, both cheap and pathetic." I stared at her in disbelief, then slowly stood up and clapped like a seal. Wow. Incredible. Truly a masterpiece. Of course, when Jackson worked as my assistant, I always called him Jackson. Everyone else also called him Jackson. None of us ever used his full name. Ella frowned, confused. "Are you insane?" I pointed at Jackson's face and tested, "You really don't recognize him?" Ella scoffed with disdain. "Isn't he just your dumb little assistant?" That confirmed it, Ella really didn't know who Jackson was. What came next hit her even harder. Jackson said coldly, "If you don't kneel and apologize to my girlfriend, you'll be the one getting blacklisted." She snorted. "Big words. Who do you think you are?" Just then, the director walked in and bowed toward Jackson. "Prince Rice, I didn't know you were here. I apologize for not welcoming you properly. Ella's eyes nearly popped out of her head at the words, Prince Rice. She looked like she might faint. Jackson turned to the director and said calmly, John, this actress can be removed from the cast. Our company, Mingchen Entertainment, will never work with someone like her. Understood. The director, no fool, immediately caught on. Ella finally panicked. Tears welled in her eyes as she tried to appear fragile and pitiful, hoping to win Jackson's sympathy. Prince Rice? I didn't realize who you were. I spoke out of line. Please forgive me. But Jackson's eyes remained fixed on me, filled with nothing but tenderness. She's the one you should be apologizing to. Did you forget what I just said? Ella bit her lip, face full of unwillingness, and reluctantly knelt before me. I'm sorry, Colleen. I offended you. I looked at her calmly and said, I don't need your apology. You're only apologizing because of his power. Ella, humiliated, didn't dare say another word. Jackson ordered everyone out. Once we were alone in the trailer, the atmosphere shifted strangely. Jackson continued icing my cheek with care. I couldn't hold back my curiosity any longer. I heard, you used to like Ella. That you had a crush on her for years. Jackson's eyes lit up. Wait. Are you jealous? I gave him a flustered look. Stop dodging the question. I don't even know her. After a brief pause, he explained gently, she mistook me for someone else. 5 years ago, I was finally brought back. Brought back? What do you mean? When I was born, someone deliberately swapped me with another baby. I wasn't found by the Rice family until 5 years ago. So yes, there are technically 2 young masters of the Rice family. But most people only know the other one. Hardly anyone knows about me. I don't really care. I immediately understood. Though Jackson spoke lightly, his voice calm, anyone who had experienced such a thing must have gone through unimaginable pain and struggle. I sighed and confessed, you clearly aren't short on money. So why would you work as my assistant? I thought maybe you were hopelessly in love with Ella and using me as a stand-in. Jackson instantly panicked. No. I would never see you as a stand-in. His eyes locked on mine, his ears turning red, but his voice was firm and steady. I became your assistant because of you. I wanted to meet you in real life. This time, I was the one dumbfounded. Wait, meet me in real life? What do you mean by that? Jackson's face turned red with embarrassment. Colleen, do you remember a username called Knight in Monochrome? My lips twitched. How could I not? 5 years ago, before I joined the entertainment industry, I had an online romance with a guy using that exact username. I used to tease him endlessly, called him my little pure-hearted boy. We dated online for nearly a year. When we finally planned to meet, he stood me up. Back then, I was such a fool. I waited in that unfamiliar city for an entire week, sitting in the same park every day with a cup of tea in hand, waiting for someone who never came. After a week, I gave up. My first love, my first romance, ended just like that. What I never expected, was that Jackson turned out to be that online boyfriend. The buried memories surged back to attack me. I no longer felt the anger I once did, only a lingering confusion and a trace of regret in my heart. Why didn't you come? I asked softly. He gave a bitter smile. At that time, I was in a car accident. I fell into a coma and stayed in the ICU for 2 months. By the time I woke up and tried to contact you again, you'd already deleted me, and deactivated your account. I even tried to retrieve surveillance footage from the place where we were supposed to meet. But you had a hat on the whole time. The cameras couldn't capture your face clearly. But I saw you waiting for me, every day for a whole week. I'm sorry. His voice was thick with guilt. I blinked, emotions twisting in my chest. Then how did you find me? He pointed to the pendant around my neck. One time, I saw you wearing that on a show. I recognized it immediately, it was a gift from me. That's when I knew it was you. It dawned on me. That pendant, I had randomly picked it out of a box before the program. After the shoot, I looked closely and realized it was the one that online friend had once mailed to me. I wanted to explain in person, he continued. But I figured you must have forgotten all about me by then. I watched your shows, you said you liked sweet and innocent guys. I also heard you disliked rich second-generation types. You preferred someone clean-cut, from a normal background. So I applied to be your assistant. I just wanted to be close to you. So that's what really happened. He hadn't gotten close to me because of Ella at all. It was just a case of mistaken assumptions. I never said I hated rich guys. It's just that for a while, a few second-gents had flirted with me on social media in a very showy, mocking way, and I grew to resent that kind of greasy, flamboyant courtship. Jackson looked at me with his usual mix of tenderness and dominance. Colleen, can we start over? I hesitated. Didn't we already break up? He said stubbornly, I never agreed to that. That was just a fight. What a rascal. He went on, will you give me another chance? I promise I won't scare you again. I won't hit anyone in front of you anymore. Please don't run away again. I'd never hurt you. I blinked. You think I ran away because I was scared of you? The broken look in his dark eyes said it all. Yes, that's what he thought. I shook my head, embarrassed. I didn't run because of that. You were protecting me. I never thought you were scary. I ran away because, well, first, you're a prince, and I'd been treating you like a little puppy assistant, bossing you around all day. If the roles were reversed, wouldn't you feel guilty? And second, I misunderstood. I thought you saw me as a stand-in for Ella. I figured once you got with her, you'd dump me anyway. So I left first, to save face, and because I didn't want to get caught in the crossfire. I have beef with Ella. I was afraid you'd take her side. Then are you still afraid of me now? I said honestly, when I first found out who you were, I was terrified. I told him about the night I ran into him in that private booth. His expression grew chaotic. But later, you never hurt me. You were just as gentle as ever. Over time I stopped being afraid. His panic visibly softened. I know you like pure-hearted boys. I'll try my best. No need. The light in his eyes flickered out, dimming in an instant. I think you're great just the way you are. Jackson stared at me, eyes wide with disbelief. You mean? Just be yourself. That's more than enough. Honestly, I thought his cool, sharp side was kind of adorable too. And his gentleness, it wasn't an act. But I was curious. When I kissed you, your ears turned red. Were you faking it, or were you really shy? His eyes met mine. If you want to know, kiss me again and find out. Unable to resist, I kissed his cheek. I watched as the blush spread across his face, all the way to his ears. Turns out, this man really is hopelessly pure when it comes to physical intimacy. But in every other way, he was mature, confident, and seriously hot. So shy, I teased. His voice was low and husky. Jackson smiled. Can we keep dating? I smirked. Last time, I was the one who chased you. He caught on quickly. Then this time, let me chase you. 6 months later. A lot had happened. For one, the Best Actress award didn't go to Ella. Ella had officially quit the industry. Multiple scandals had broken, cheating, bullying rookies on set, and acting like a diva. She lost all her popularity and resources, and now she owed a massive penalty fee for breach of contract. At the moment, Jackson was in the kitchen cooking. I was happily munching on cake. He walked over and gently coaxed me, dinner's ready. Okay. In the past 6 months, it wasn't just Jackson chasing me, it was the two of us, basking in the sweetness of our relationship. Who would have thought that the cold, ruthless prince of South City was actually a die-hard romantic in private? Sure, I'd noticed he was innocent in some ways. But in others, he was definitely a cunning little fox. I suspected he was deliberately baiting me sometimes. But strangely, I didn't mind at all. In fact, I totally fell for it. That night, after dinner, Jackson was about to leave. I grabbed his wrist and snuggled into his chest. Will you stay tonight? I could hear his heart pounding against his chest. He asked gently, does that mean you're officially agreeing to be my girlfriend? I nodded with a smile, then kissed him square on the cheek. Nice to meet you, boyfriend. He smiled, eyes bright with happiness. Nice to meet you too, girlfriend. Jackson, extra chapter. When I was 18, I fell in love with a girl I met online. She was the one who added me first and would message me every day, sharing funny little stories from her life. At first, I barely responded. But over time, I grew used to her constant chatter and even began to look forward to it. Since I was a child, I had always believed I was an illegitimate son. That so-called father of mine would send a sum of money each year to a nanny to take care of me, but she would pocket nearly all of it. I grew up under her harsh and abusive care. Eventually, I moved out on my own. I taught myself programming and started making money selling software. Before she came into my life, very few people ever spoke to me. The words I heard most often were things like, bastard, shameless homewrecker, mute freak, or, are you mentally ill? When I turned 19, we agreed to meet in real life. I prepared a mountain of gifts for that day, terrified she might not like what I brought, so I scoured the internet for ideas, anything girls might like. But the day before our meeting, I was in a car accident and ended up in the ICU. I didn't come out until 2 months later. She didn't wait for me. She deleted her account, and vanished. That period of my life was a complete mess. Not only did I lose her, but I also learned something utterly ridiculous about myself. Turns out, I wasn't an illegitimate child at all, I was a stolen baby. The one behind it all? My so-called father's mistress, Julia. Back then, abandoned and filled with resentment, she swapped me at birth as revenge. All these years, she'd been secretly watching me and her biological son from the shadows. When the truth came out, she tried to preserve her son's position by sending people to kill me. She wanted to run me over. But when the police came for her, she committed suicide to avoid punishment. After I was taken back to the family, I learned that my biological mother had already passed away. Jackson, this name was supposed to be mine. It was the name my real mother had given me. But someone else had lived with it for 19 years. When I returned, I reclaimed the name Jackson Rice. The imposter, the one who stole my life, renamed himself Jack Rice. What a joke. Even after the truth came out, my so-called father didn't drive Jack away. After all, he'd raised him for over a decade. Jack received the best education, while I had dropped out of high school and was scorned by the entire family. Few outside the family even knew about the Rice family scandal. So even with my return, Jack Rice's life remained untouched. He was still the glamorous, beloved Prince Rice in the public eye. He loved being the center of attention, the opposite of me. I hated the spotlight. I knew clearly, without power, even if I showed my face every day, no one would acknowledge me as the true heir of the Rice family. So I kept a low profile. I enrolled in a finance program at university and, in secret, started a tech company. 5 years later, it had grown into a billion-dollar enterprise. That's when my grandfather finally acknowledged me as the rightful heir. Jack, feeling increasingly threatened, kept provoking me. He even found out I had been searching for a girl and tried to steal her from me, treating her like some trophy to be claimed. He got hold of a photo of the girl I was looking for and mistook Ella, a married woman, for her. He began aggressively pursuing her. Around the same time, my grandfather's health began to fail, and the Rice family's internal power struggle erupted. As planned, I disappeared for a while, letting the Rice family tear itself apart, while I went to find the one person I'd never stopped thinking about. I recognized her from a show. Hearing her bright, cheerful voice again made my heart race, just like it had 5 years ago. Her name, I found out, was Colleen. I entered her world, as her assistant. I knew she liked gentle, innocent men. So I played the role, carefully. But when she kissed my cheek, my face would burn uncontrollably. When she hugged me, my body would tremble from the rush of joy, like a tide rising from my chest. When she confessed and asked me to be her boyfriend, it became one of the happiest moments of my life. She loved being on stage, and to me, she sparkled just as brightly off it. All I ever wanted was to protect her, to guard the very best version of her. But trouble still came our way. At one event, someone dared to touch her inappropriately. I made sure he regretted it. Later, she saw me in a fight. I must have terrified her. I wasn't the gentle, innocent man she thought she loved. So she ran. For the next 3 months, I searched everywhere for her, asking anyone in her circle for news. Even her agent, who I bribed, tried to reach out, but she refused to come back, never revealing her whereabouts. As for Ella, the one who once bullied her, after a few reminders from me, all her opportunities vanished overnight. During those 3 months, after Grandpa passed away, I reorganized the entire Rice family. The relatives who had fought like beasts were thrown in jail, because I'd never stopped collecting evidence of their corruption. That included both my so-called father and Jack Rice. When Grandpa's will was made public, I was named the sole heir. 3 months later, she finally returned. I stood outside her hotel all night, nervous, restless, and overwhelmed with anticipation. When she finally appeared, just the sight of her made my heart feel like it might explode. And in that moment, I knew, this time, I'm never letting her go again.